You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am the Jacob Valk, and you're not. I've got to start by breaking down Nets Bucks. Without question, one of the worst games that the Nets have played all year. As we all know, the Nets love to go small. Okay, we all know that. One of the dangers of doing that is that it opens up the possibility of you getting torched in the interior. That is what happened here. The Bucks absolutely destroyed my beloved Nets in the interior. You look at the points in the paint, it's 46-44 in favor of the Bucks. Let me tell you, it doesn't feel that way. The Bucks were penetrating. They were getting a lot of shots close to the basket. They were drawing contact. They grabbed all the loose balls. I saw a stat that said that the distance from which Giannis shot, on average, was the closest to the basket that it's been all series. This was a bad coaching job by Steve Nash. You want to tell me that he's not really the head coach? It's Mike D'Antoni, or it's Jacques Vaughn, or it's Kevin Durant, or it's James Harden, or it's Kyrie Irving? No. Alright, Steve Nash is still the one walking up and down the sideline. He's who I'm going to get on here. You see Jeff Green getting torched defensively. And I like Jeff Green, okay? I'm not knocking him. But he had a bad game defensively. It's clear that he can't stop Giannis. He can't stop Chris Middleton. But you leave him in there. Why did Nick Claxton, the best true center that the Nets have, play only 2 minutes? Claxton is a good interior defender. You're watching that game unfold, and the thought that went through my head was, okay, this is shaping up well for Claxton. He's going to get a lot of minutes. Let's see what he can do. You know he's only played 3 minutes the past 2 games? I just don't understand it. He's a good player. Nick Claxton's a good player. I mean, quite honestly, I understand that this guy hasn't played all playoffs long. He hasn't played in over a month. But DeAndre Jordan actually could have been useful yesterday. If you see the Bucks getting an express lane to the hoop, you need to contest that. You need to change up your game plan. Your perimeter defense was excellent. The Bucks shot just 7 for 33 from beyond the arc. That's 21%. Jrue Holiday couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Neither could Pat Connaughton. Instead, it was drive to the hoop, drive to the hoop, drive to the hoop. And you don't adjust your game plan? I don't understand it. Joe Harris. Freaking Joe Harris. One of the best three-point shooters in the NBA. Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. I mean, my God. For the love of mercy, get him out. Get Green out. Change it up. Play Shamet more. Play James more. Play Brown more. I don't care. It's an elimination game. It's not like you're up 3-0 or 3-1. You now need to win a game 7. I understand that it's in Brooklyn. And the home team has won every game this series. That bodes well for the Nets. But, what's the saying? Anything can happen in a game 7. My buddy Mark called me after the game and he said, Jacob, I'm going. I gotta be honest with you, I'm not nervous. I wish I could say the same thing. I mean, games 3 through 6 have not inspired a lot of confidence in me. Game 3, the offense no-shows. Game 4, the offense no-shows. Game 5, it takes a Herculean effort by Kevin Durant to win that game. Game 6, the offense no-shows. There is a pattern here. In the 3 Nets losses in this series, they have scored less than 100 points. Well, Jacob, how do they get their offense back up? It's really simple. Penetrate. Draw contact. Get to the free throw line. You know how many free throws the Brooklyn Nets shot yesterday? 14. That's it. Now, granted, they only hit 8. Okay, I get that. But I don't see that happening again. The Brooklyn Nets were the 6th best team in the NBA this year in terms of free throw percentage. They hit 80.4% of their free throws. Maybe you're hesitant to draw contact because you don't want these guys to get hurt. You've got to do something. If hoisting up three-point shot after three-point shot after three-point shot isn't working, and let's be honest, it wasn't, you've got to change it up. The Nets went 9 for 30 from beyond the arc. That's 30%. Again, you're so reliant on small ball, creating spacing. 7 seconds or less, shooting it from 3. If it's not working, change up the approach. I mean, I don't want to come off all doom and gloom. Okay, there's still a game 7. And it's in Brooklyn. It's very possible that the Nets can win that game. And I know what you're thinking, is Kyrie Irving going to play? We haven't heard officially one way or the other yet, but Adrian Wojnarowski said right after that injury that the Nets are bracing for life without Kyrie for the rest of the Bucks series. I'd love it if Kyrie played. If Kyrie plays, the Nets win. And look, this is a Game 7. If there was ever a time to gut it out through an injury, this is the time. I mean, let me ask you this. Is it unreasonable to ask Durant to play 48 minutes again? Do you ask Harden to do the same? It's a Game 7. You need to go all out. There's no tomorrow. And I'll say this, you've got to cut Joe Harris's minutes. What's the one thing that all shooters need? And this is going to sound cliche, but it's the truth. Confidence. Joe Harris does not have confidence right now. How can he? He hasn't scored 10 points in a game since Game 2. You know how many three-pointers he's hit in the last 4 games? 5. The Nets have tried letting him get out of this funk that he's in himself. It hasn't worked. You need to cut his minutes. He cannot play over 35 minutes in Game 7. If you want to start him, that's fine. Okay? I have no problem with that. But go to Shamet. Go to James. Go to Brown. Hell, go to TLC. There's got to be at least one shooter on this team that can shoot. Harris has said that playing with these guys is a shooter's dream. That's great, but I'm living in a nightmare. 5 3-pointers in the last 4 games. There are college players that could do that. Again, it's not all doom and gloom, okay? There's a Game 7 in Brooklyn. Harden's going to be as close to 100% as possible. You've got to think that Nash is going to switch things up. Because watching that game yesterday, what he was doing just wasn't working. Having Jeff Green as the small ball 5, it may work offensively in the regular season, but it hasn't worked here. Joe Harris, great 3-point shooter, not here. This is it. A Game 7. The season comes down to this. And make no mistake about it, if the Nets lose this game tomorrow, the season is an abject failure. I may have to revise decades of dumbass decisions. I don't want to do that. This is winning time. This team has stepped up all year in winning time. You've got to do it at least one more time. Alright, now it's time to preview Sixers-Hawks. And I'll say this. If you're a Sixers fan or a Jazz fan, watching Nets-Bucks yesterday has to give you some confidence. After losing a tough Game 5, the Bucks come back and win Game 6. They force a Game 7. If you're a Sixers fan, you've got to be thinking, why can't we do that? Same thing if you're a Jazz fan. These series aren't over. It may feel like it's over, but it's not. If the Sixers are going to win this game, they've got to borrow a quote from Robert Saleh. All gas, no break. Back-to-back games, the Sixers have blown huge leads. Game 4, they blow an 18-point lead. Game 5, they blow a 26-point lead. It's okay if you think you're going to win. It's okay if you have confidence in your abilities. But you actually have to seal the deal. It ain't over till the fat lady sings. The fat lady sang when the Hawks were up on the scoreboard. Once you have your foot on the throat of the Hawks, keep it there. Don't let up. As for the Hawks, they don't need to change much. For goodness sake. They pulled off 2 epic comebacks against a vastly superior team. If I had to say one thing, play Simmons. You can limit Embiid's effectiveness and Curry's effectiveness and Tobias Harris's effectiveness by not giving them the opportunity to score at the end of the possession. I'm okay with you playing Simmons. It's a legitimate strategy. It's a boring strategy. It's certainly not exciting to watch. But hey, if it works, it works. I'm going to be rooting for the Hawks hard. If the Nets win tomorrow and go to the Eastern Conference Finals, the Hawks are going to be a much easier opponent for them than the Sixers. I'm not saying they can't beat the Sixers. They can. But the Hawks are going to be a lot easier. But I don't see the Hawks doing it. I don't think the Sixers are going to lose 3 straight. There will be a Game 7. Moving on now to Jazz Clippers. And there are some big stories here. Donovan Mitchell is going to be a game-time decision for this game. Meanwhile, Mike Conley wants to come back, but God only knows if he actually will. There's not much else I can say. If Donovan Mitchell doesn't play, the Jazz have no chance. I don't care that the Clippers are without Kawhi Leonard. Paul George has shown that he can step up and lead the Clippers to victory. Mike Conley coming back doesn't change much. I mean, look, I'll say this. If Conley and Mitchell play, that's great, but they're not going to be at 100%. This game is in the Staples Center. Talk about the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, right? You learn that Kawhi Leonard is going to be out for the rest of the series. You lose Game 5 in Utah. And now in a do-or-die Game 6 in a hostile Staples Center, your best player isn't going to be at 100% and may not play at all. And you may still be without Mike Conley. And if he plays, he's not going to be at 100%. There's not much else I can say. This is shaping up to be a Clippers rout. Yeah, I think we're going to see a Suns-Clippers Western Conference Finals get finalized tonight. Alright, now I'll give you some NHL Valk talk. And obviously I've got to start with Lightning Islanders. The Islanders did the right thing. They played well enough to win on the defensive side of things. They were physical. They out-hit the Lightning. But they only took 1 penalty. And even then, that interference call on Pelech, that was a really, really bad call. I have seen that same play draw no whistle whatsoever a million times before. That was an absolutely terrible call. I turned to my dad. And I said to him, did you see the interference? Because I didn't. He said no, he didn't see it either. Then you see the clip on Twitter, and it's like, oh, that's what they called? You've got to be kidding me. Look, defensively, the Islanders played well enough to win. There's no question about that. But the offense wasn't great. They had some good opportunities. The second period, they were the much better team. They made Vasilevsky work. They had some golden chances. But of course, puck luck is a thing. The only goal that the Islanders scored was on a scramble in front of the net. A Lightning player nudged the puck towards Vasilevsky to try to give him the opportunity to cover the puck. I don't think Vasilevsky ever saw it. It ended up sneaking under him for a goal. Like, of all the ways for the Islanders to score in that second period, that's how they score? Puck luck. There's no other way to say it. That's a real thing. But the puck luck turned against the Islanders right after that. You had the Pelech interference call. They killed the power play. Okay, good job by them. But before Pelech could get back into the play, Braden Point scored with 17 and a half seconds left in the second period to make it 2-1 Lightning. Talk about a gut punch. Now, I'll say this. You go back and look at the replay, it looks like Anthony Cirelli impacted Semyon Varlamov's movement. Was he shoved in by Andy Green? Did it have an impact on the goal? Hindsight's 20/20, but it's the kind of thing that Trotz should have challenged. I know why he didn't challenge it, okay? I'm not knocking Trotz for not challenging it. That's a Monday morning quarterback thing. I don't want to do that. You don't want to give the Lightning another power play. It'll suck all the life out of the arena. You don't want them to start the third period on the power play. It could be 3-1 Lightning before you know it. I understand why Trotz didn't challenge it. Was it the right decision? In hindsight, no, because it turned out to be the game-winning goal. But you should expect your team to score more than one goal in regulation. But in the third period, the Islanders really didn't get too many great chances. A lot of their shots were from the outside. They were waiting for the perfect shot. I hate when they do that. I just don't get it. Put the damn puck on net. Make Vasilevsky make a save. I don't care if you shoot it into his chest. A million things can happen. Maybe he drops the puck. There's a scramble in front, and it's 2-2. I just don't understand the Islanders' obsession with waiting for the perfect shot. There's an old hockey adage, and my father says this. He's 100% right. You can't score if you don't shoot. He's right. He's 100% right. Shoot the damn thing. You never know what'll happen. Even with Varlamov pulled, there wasn't a great sense of urgency by the Islanders. I mean, now the Lightning are in the driver's seat. Again. it's not doom and gloom for the Islanders. This wasn't a must-win game for either team. The only thing that was determined by that game yesterday was that Game 4 is now a must-win for the Islanders. And the Islanders have been in this spot before. And they've been incredibly effective. In the first and second rounds, they were down 2-1. Game 4 in Uniondale was a must-win against the Penguins, and it was a must-win against the Bruins. You didn't want to fall down 3-1 to either team. What ended up happening? The Islanders won 3 straight. A week ago, I said Islanders in 6. The reason I said that was that the Bruins and Lightning are very similar. They're both very skilled teams. The Islanders showed that they can beat a skilled team. It's kind of interesting. Games 4, 5, and 6 against the Penguins and games 4, 5, and 6 against the Bruins were all must-win games. The Islanders went 6-0 in those games. The Game 4s were must-wins because you don't want to fall behind 3-1. Games 5 and 6 in both series were must-wins because you didn't want to have to win a Game 7 on the road. The Islanders have won these must-win games before. Tell me why they can't do it again. I'll tell you. This is turning out to be, I don't want to say a perfect scenario for the Islanders, because obviously you'd like to be ahead in the series, but they were down 2-1 against the Penguins, they won 3 straight, and they were down 2-1 against the Bruins, and they won 3 straight. Why can't they do it again? You can make the argument that they have the Lightning right where they want them. I mean, look, the game tomorrow is a must-win for the Islanders, okay? There's no question about that. If they lose it, the series is over. They're not going to win 3 straight. And I think it's pretty clear that Oliver Wahlstrom needs to draw back into the lineup. The odd man out then becomes Travis Zajac. I'm okay with that. That's the only change that the Islanders need to make. Maybe you'd like them to make some changes on defense because Andy Green and Noah Dobson have been dreadful in this series. But unless you're going to put in Braden Coburn and Thomas Hickey, you're stuck with Green and Dobson. Maybe if you fall down 3-1, you do that. Desperate times call for desperate measures. But all in all, I'm really not overly concerned with the Islanders. They didn't need this game. They need Game 4 tomorrow. If they lose tomorrow, the series is over. But I don't think they're going to lose tomorrow because this team plays well in must-win games. Maybe I'm being a cockeyed optimist, but I'm not overly concerned. Alright, now it's time to preview Golden Knights Canadiens. If the Golden Knights are going to win this game, I know this seems like a cop-out, but it's really not. They need to play a lot better. Overall, they just need to step their game up, because Game 2 on Wednesday, they were dreadful. The only guy who showed up was Alex Pietrangelo. They got out hit, They couldn't get anything going on the power play. They lost a bunch of face-offs. They got off to an incredibly slow start and just couldn't recover. Marc-Andre Fleury let up some soft goals. They did not play well. I don't know if they got too cocky or something, but if they play tonight like they played on Wednesday, they're going to lose this game. Meanwhile, for the Canadians, it all comes down to home ice. Games 3 and 4 are obviously in the Bell Center. They're going to be nowhere near full capacity. I don't know how many people are going to be let in for this game, but I'll tell you, for Game 4 against the Jets, the Habs played in front of just 2,500 people. So let's say it's the same 2,500. Not the exact same people, just the same number. Those 2,500 people are going to need to sound like 25,000. Because they just heard the Vegas fans go nuts for 2 games. And they were loud. They were animated. They put on a show. That's what Vegas does. When the Habs skate out of their tunnel in Game 3, they can't hear crickets. Those 2,500 Frenchmen need to be loud. They've got to be rowdy. Like I said, they need to sound like 25,000 Frenchmen. Look, I picked Vegas in 5 before the series started. I kind of need to stick with it. Obviously, if Vegas loses tonight, that can't happen. So, I've got to go with the Golden Knights here. Alright, back to the NBA Valk talk with a huge trade. The Celtics traded Kemba Walker, the 16th overall pick, and a 2025 second rounder, which is the most favorable between the Celtics and Grizzlies second rounders, to the Thunder for Al Horford, Moses Brown, and the least favorable second rounder in 2023 that the Thunder will have. Look, I talked about the Celtics possibly trading Kemba Walker. I didn't think they would do it this soon, but Brad Stevens wanted to get an early start on things. And it's kind of funny. Brad Stevens trades away a guy in Kemba Walker to get a guy in Al Horford who he coached for 3 seasons in Boston. This is what happens when coaches become in charge of teams. They bring in guys that they like. I mean, this trade makes sense for both sides. What did the Celtics need all year? A dominant big man. Al Horford is that. We know he can't shoot, so he's going to play the 5. A similar role to the role he had with the Thunder, where he put up 14.2 points per game, 6.7 rebounds per game, and 3.4 assists per game. He shot just 45% from the field. I'd like that to be higher. His 3-point percentage did go up to 36.8%, which is pretty impressive. That will give the new Celtics coach some options. But think about this starting 5. Marcus Smart, Evan Fournier, assuming they bring him back, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Al Horford. That's pretty darn good. And the Celtics also addressed their second biggest issue, their bench. They relied a lot on younger players that really weren't ready for the bright lights. I'm not giving up on him yet, but outside of Peyton Pritchard, no Celtics young gun really impressed me. And I'm not counting Robert Williams, because with this trade, Robert Williams is probably going to be off the Celtics. Let me tell you, I like Robert Williams. I'd take him on the Nets in a heartbeat. If the Celtics make him available, I think a lot of teams will be vying for his services. Really, really good young defensive center, let me tell you. Now, the reason I'm saying that the Celtics could trade Robert Williams is that they got a better version of Williams in Moses Brown. 7'2", 245 pounds, a great rebounder. Yeah, that's right. I said great. Averaged 8.9 rebounds per game this year in 21.4 minutes per game. The field goal percentage should be higher at 54.5%, but he did put up 8.6 points per game. I like that. Averaged just over a block per game. He's better than Robert Williams. Meanwhile, the Thunder get another high draft pick, 16th overall. They get a guy in Kemba Walker who's used to playing on bad teams. He knows what needs to be done to make those teams competitive. I mean, I'll say this. I like the idea of Kemba Walker and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander playing together. That has the makings of being a really, really good backcourt. Having said that, though, there's absolutely no guarantee that the Thunder keep Walker. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they ended up flipping him. I mean, I'm just throwing this out there, but if the Trailblazers trade Damian Lillard, is it possible that they get Walker back? I'm not saying that Lillard is going to go to the Thunder, but maybe in a multi-team trade or in a separate trade, Walker can go to the Blazers. They can sell it to their fans as, hey, we didn't get exponentially worse. We got some high picks. We can still make the playoffs. Stranger things have happened. I'll say that. The last story to talk about is the turmoil surrounding the Dallas Mavericks. Now, I'll be honest with you, I missed this earlier in the week. Tim Cato and Sam Amick of The Athletic wrote a report saying that Haralabos Voulgaris, a prolific sports gambler and the Mavericks Director of Quantitative Research and Development, whatever the hell that is, has more influence within the Mavericks than he should. To add to the tumult, Donnie Nelson, who's been in charge of the Mavs since 2005, parted ways with the team. That supposedly made Luka Doncic upset. Rick Carlisle resigned. And now God only knows what's going to happen with the Mavs going forward. Supposedly Doncic and Vulgaris don't see eye to eye. But in a follow-up for The Athletic, Cato and Amick said that Doncic will sign his Supermax rookie extension. So Mavericks fans can breathe easy there. You'll have one of the most exciting players in the NBA to root for a while. I mean, look, the Mavericks did need a shakeup. The pairing of Doncic and Porzingis has not worked. Back-to-back years you've been eliminated by the Clippers. Porzingis can't stay healthy. It just hasn't worked. So yeah, you need to shake some things up. Is it jarring to see two well-respected people like Nelson and Carlisle be let go? The answer is yes. Those guys will land on their feet. But sometimes you just need to shake things up. And if it's clear it isn't working, shake things up. I don't mind that. The stuff about Vulgaris, God only knows if that's true or not. Mark Cuban denied it. I mean, it'll be pretty clear pretty soon if Vulgaris is named the new GM. Yeah, he did have a lot of influence. If he stays on under a new GM, okay, Cuban probably really likes him. If he's let go by the new GM, yeah, that report was inaccurate. Now, I don't know who's going to replace Nelson as GM of the Mavericks. The early reports have named Michael Finley as the leading candidate. He is the Mavericks vice president of basketball operations. Obviously, he played for the Mavericks for 9 seasons. Made 2 All-Star teams with him. He was a great player. Michael Finley was incredibly underrated. Sure, he could take over the Mavs. I wouldn't have a problem with that. As far as who he could hire as coach, Tim McMahon of ESPN said on Brian Windhorst's Hoop Collective podcast that the 3 most likely candidates are Jamal Mosley, who's been an assistant coach with the Mavericks since 2014, Terry Stotts, former Mavericks assistant, that was what he did before he went to the Blazers, and Jason Kidd, who, as we all know, spent his first 3 seasons in the NBA with the Mavericks. Then the Nets traded him back there to get Devin Harris. Kidd won his only NBA championship there in 2011. Look, all these moves make sense. Mark Cuban likes consistency. The Mavericks really don't do this a lot. They don't change front office members a lot. They don't change coaches a lot. So yeah, bring in a franchise legend like Finley to run the show, someone who has a lot of experience in your front office. And if he wants to promote from within, or hire an established head coach in Stotts, or another franchise legend in Jason Kidd, I have no problem with that. This can work for the Mavericks. There's no question. Again, it's jarring to see guys like Nelson and Carlisle leave. If they want, they will get new jobs in the NBA extremely quickly. Donnie Nelson is an incredibly smart mind, and Rick Carlisle is one of the 10 best coaches in the NBA. There will be no shortage of teams interested in those two guys if they say they're not done being in the NBA. New York Yankees show comes your way Monday night. Regular episodes of the Jacob Valk show come your way every weekday afternoon. Until next time, I am Jacob Valk saying that I don't think I should be asked to catch when the temperature is below my age.